Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Fun's debut 2009 album, Aim and Ignite. It's good, definitely decent, but not outstanding overall. Definitely good though. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist, 8 out of 10, so most of them here. This album's decent. Most of the songs here are pretty good, although they do kind of coalesce into a single sound without a ton of variation. Particularly the beginning of the album is actually pretty slow. It's only the second and third tracks that are a bit more upbeat in the first half of the album. It flows fine, but the album could use some more upbeat tracks to give some contrast from the slower pop ballad tracks, which kind of all sound similar. The slow songs are decent on their own, but there's just a little bit too many of them in the context of the album. The genre here is a pretty interesting indie pop, not outstanding or super innovative, but clearly kind of opposed to the regular pop sound of the time. This album doesn't have a bunch of songs that are sort of setting the sound for mainstream pop, kind of like not like their later work at all. Instead, it's much more out there, kind of pop and rock still though. In comparison to something like One Republic or Train, it's definitely not that. It sounds like a much more experienced version of kind of Imagine Dragons' early pre-2012 work. How a little less poppy AJR might sound. I like it, but it's not my favorite. There was only one single released before the album. At least I'm not as sad as I used to be, which definitely sounds like an AJR track name. And there were no tracks of this album that were popular or on the radio at the time. My favorite track here, probably gotta go with track 7, Walking the Dog. It's one of the more upbeat, more radio-friendly pop tracks, although All the Pretty Girls and maybe Bar Lights are also in that category, but my favorite here is definitely Walking the Dog. As the only Fun album I've listened to so far, it has their only spot in the rankings, so not much to say there. I expect their second album will be better, but we'll have to wait and see. Additionally, it doesn't get my top spot from 2009. That stays with Train's Save Me San Francisco, which is really great, almost perfect album. So Aim and Ignite isn't going to take it here, even though this is a pretty good debut. This is kind of middle of the road, what you want to hear from a debut, but not blowing anyone out of the water. Next up is Duran's 2015 album, Paper Gods. It's actually pretty decent. Definitely one of their better kind of post-80s albums. There's not a ton on it that's super egregious, and there's a couple of tracks here that are actually pretty good. So stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.